Welcome to the annual membership meeting. Today is March 31st. It's the last time you have to hear from me. I know there's a lot of people that are happy about that. Rob, if you can hit the button, please.
I just want to work through that.
Yeah, just work through the slides here. There we go. So that's going to be the agenda for tonight. I will cover the introductions and the welcome, which I just did, and then Rob will turn it over. He's got some very interesting updates for everyone, and I'm sure you'll be interested to hear what he's got to say. And then, of course, it'll end with the announcement of the elections at the end. So first of all, there's your current board of directors. I'd like to recognize the board members that are leaving, in particular, Brian Murtha. He stepped in for 9 to 10 months of our tenure this year. And he's been a tremendous asset, particularly because he was a past board president, and also his legal expertise came out really helpful in all our board meetings. So I really thank Brian. And then, of course, Mr. Laddick, who's been on this board now for 6 years. I don't know how some people do it for 6 years. Please thank them both for all that they've done. I really appreciate all their service, and you should too. Okay, so that's the leadership team. Remaining will be David Lewis and Pat Waters, and then Scott Miller and John Brightfellow will stay on. Okay, next slide. The leadership team, I'd like to introduce them. And if you people, I don't know how many of you were here Saturday night, but that was a spectacular. You know, the social committee had a minor effort in that. They kind of said, this is what we'd like to do, and we turned it over to Rob and his team, and that is what we're capable of. So if you weren't there, I hope you go there. My parting guidance to them is, that's our expectation now. Live up to it. We'll see what happens. So the leadership team, you all know the general manager, I'll let him go. First off, I'd like to introduce a new, not the newest, but one of our new directors, and that's Amy Barotti, and she is the new CFO. Alyssa Worth, who's the HR director. One of the big players that goes unnoticed around here all the time and was a big part of that party on Saturday night, David. We got Paul Davis for tennis. Mike Johnson for golf. And the ones that aren't here are, of course, you all know Anna, the newest member.
Anna's in the back.
Okay, Anna's back there too. Jim Fields is back there too. And the only one who's not here is the newest member of our illustrious staff. He's probably home because he's got to drive about 1 hour and 20 minutes both ways. And he has to get here early in the morning to open up the courses. But that's Nick Garraby. If you haven't met him, please do so. I think you'll be very impressed with his knowledge of agronomy, but he's our new director of agronomy, so I think he's going to work out wonderfully here. Okay, next. All right, these are the standing committees. They haven't changed much. We have 10 standing committees in this club. There's an 11th when you add the nominating committee, which is a part-time committee. We're trying to make it a little more useful, but there's basically 10 committees plus the nominating committee, and then we have a couple ad hoc committees. The reason we show these up here is because if you're interested in getting involved in the club and understanding how the club truly operates, it would behoove you to sign up with the general manager when the time arises. We already got the committees sort of made up this year. The board's got it, the new board's going to have to approve them. But if you want to get involved in the committees, we would really appreciate it. It's a member-owned club, so you need to make sure that you participate in what you want to see your club become and do. So that's my pitch for being on the committees. I now turn it over to Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. Appreciate that. I hope most of you had a chance to attend the event on Saturday night. The staff truly did a phenomenal job, from the logistics, the planning, the food. That was no small feat. we figured we know that we fed over 760 people with fireworks and things like that. That probably pushed close to 1,000 through here that night, people coming in afterwards. So my kudos and applause out to the entire staff. They did a phenomenal job. For an event of that size, historic event here at the club on their 50th anniversary, and it was one heck of a way to celebrate it. So thank you all very much. So getting into 2024, the year in review, the balance sheet, pretty straightforward. Year over year, our equity has increased. Our total assets went up by about $1.7 million from the capital improvements that we made. Capital dues and the initiation fees will continue to fund those. And our other assets that are listed there are made up of accounts receivable, inventory, and prepaid dues. Our cash on hand is just over $1 million. Last year it was 1.849 million because we're getting ready. A lot of that was already earmarked for the pickleball courts and the challenge golf course renovation. Our loan, you can see the first line below liabilities has decreased in value by $400,000. That will start decreasing at a higher rate as more of the monthly payments are being applied to the principal and not the interest anymore as we move forward. Operational financials, this was interesting for me to put together. I shared it with a couple members of the finance committee just in preparation. And I want to put this together for 6 years. So on your far left is 2020. And just to put this in perspective for all of you about where we were, where we are, and where we're going, that number in 2020 was $5.8 million. That was the gross revenue of Suntree Country Club in 2020. To help you understand what that is today, our food and beverage revenue this year for 2025 is budgeted at $4.1 million. So when you think of one department generating $4.1 million of revenue, when in 2020 we were at $5,817,869, the club has grown exponentially over the last couple of years. It is a growth rate of about 20% when we put it on scale. What this also shows, it's two simple lines. There's a revenue line and an expense line. The expense line is in red, and the revenue line is in blue. Last year we missed our expenses by $158,000, which was about 1.3% of the overall revenues. On scale, that's not much if you can look at what we've done in the past year. So when we talk about operational profitability, we're not quite there yet. We know that last year was a transitional year operationally. We did have a couple key hires. We did add a couple more headcounts throughout the fiscal year last year. And we did commit to spending more money in the grounds operation with the dry injecting that we did last year. The profit range for 2025, which is on your far right, this year the range is up to $80,000 on profit. So that is a range right now. We have an idea where we're going to be at the end of March. So I'm not going to steal the thunder of our treasurer who's in the room, but you'll be getting a quarterly report that'll show that on track for this year. Going through the capital improvements that we made last year, these are all blended together between aspirational and operational. Obviously, the classic golf course refurbishment took place. 5 pickleball courts are finally operational. We did pick up new fitness room and new fitness room equipment. Upgraded the acoustic tiles in the Palm restaurant. We installed weather safety system that is now tied through GPS to all the golf carts. And all of you should have access to the app. If you don't, please see Mike or one of the pros in the office and they can help you download the app so you can get real-time weather information. Courts 3 and 4 were resurfaced and the drainage was repaired. We had tennis court light replacements for courts 3 and 4 only this past year. Dave needed some new wheels, so we purchased him a used pickup truck. We put in some new rooftop air conditioning units that needed to be replaced. We upgraded the snack bar and we upgraded the Legacy Clubhouse foyer and entrance. Membership update. Year-end membership levels. December 31st of 2023, we had 1,213 memberships. December 31st of 2024, we had 1,189 memberships. As of today, we have 1,192 memberships. So our numbers are not dropping by any significant means. And if you look at the class changes within there, our biggest changes this past year were driven by pickleball. So a lot of the social members, as you can see from the numbers, upgraded from social over into the tennis classification, and the golf numbers have remained relatively flat. We're at 626, the target number is 635. You'll see that the tennis equity number is at 169. That target number is 170 because we took into account pickleball when we increased that target number. And we're currently sitting at 300 social memberships, so we don't have a legitimate target for that yet, but clearly we have some more room for those. Our departments are continually monitoring compression on the golf course and tennis courts, and now pickleball courts and food and beverage social events, which we'll get into a little deeper in the agenda. A lot of our, as I mentioned, a lot of our social members upgraded to tennis. There might be a couple more. But I know that Anna's been busy these last couple months, and I think she said 8 this month. We have 8 more members coming in this month, so we have 8 more members joining Sentry this month. As an aside, it wasn't part of my presentation, we changed the way that we are interviewing and meeting prospective members. And some of you have probably heard about this, but Anna's collecting the applications and sending the information out to the membership committee. And they're meeting with the prospective candidates, the members, in a meeting, just sharing about the culture of the club, learning what they are interested in getting back from joining the club, and what they're interested in bringing to us. It's a really nice two-way street for us to learn about them, and then us to also set our expectations with them as we move forward. In addition to that, we do have ambassadors that Anna works with, so when they are interested in joining for an athletic membership, either golf or tennis, that we pair them up with a member who would take them out on the golf course for 9 or 18 holes of golf and will set up a game of tennis or pickleball. It's been really, really interesting for us to sit through those meetings and hear what their interests are. I would say about half of the members coming in are members or were members of other clubs. So this is half of the membership that we're getting has some level of experience in being a private club member. Membership demographics, this has not shifted much year over year at all. Our member counts are 1192. The spouses and the dependents are 895 and 544. This is based on information that you give us when we ask you annually to fill out your census. Some people are good at it, some people aren't. This does not take into account any new births for the last 3 months either. That is a relatively rough count, and based in some experience, I would say that low. Our average age is 61.3 for primaries, and as I mentioned last year, our primary members like marrying younger people, so that average age is 59.8. The kids' average age is 16. I will tell you one area that is starting to get more and more active is below that line with dependents. We are getting more, I'm not going to say a lot more yet, but we are getting more and more members that are joining with young children. And what we have seen and what you're going to see when we go through the survey is that we're going to have to start doing a better job of programming for youth as we move forward. It's something that our staff is going to have to focus on. We will have to find some space for them here on the property so that they can have a safe, welcoming spot for them to come and enjoy when they're here at the club and they're not on the golf course or the tennis courts or the pickleball courts. The Performance Excellence Survey. This year we had the most feedback that we've ever had before. We had 618 respondents. Last year we had 552. The year prior was 556. 81% of you came back as favorable and very satisfied or satisfied to the club. So obviously we'd like to get that to increase a little bit more, and that's what we're going to continue to work on. The feedback by department I'll get into here as we go through the slides. Just as a note, we are continually and we will continue to take event surveys post-event. Those are helping us tremendously make adjustments for repeatable events as we move forward, whether it's a pricing sensitivity, whether it's menu, whether it's entertainment. So all that information that we are collecting has been fantastic for us to learn from, and we really appreciate you taking the time to fill it out. We are still getting strong responses back from that in the 80% range, so we really appreciate it again. Member survey highlights, dining and social, positive feedback regarding improved food quality and presentation. Service quality, friendliness, and professionalism was frequently praised. Dining times have improved. Requests for expanded variety and a return of some favorite items was throughout the survey, according to our third party. Consistency was mentioned as an issue with Ms. Cooks and serving temperature being cold. Pricing and value concerns were raised as not meeting member expectations. Before I go further into the survey, I will be hosting some listening sessions at the end of April, early May, and they will be department specific. And we'll advertise in advance. We'll do it in this room. We'll have the big screen up, and we'll sit down. We'll go through food and beverage. We'll go through golf. And at golf, we'll take care of both. We'll handle grounds and the golf operations. And then we'll get into tennis and racket. So those will be the 3 select groups that we're going to do some listening sessions, because as you can appreciate, surveys are good. But what our third party Chambers was working through was a lot of verbatim, so they're really trying to summarize this. And actually, we need to get more tactile and granular on this and find out exactly what you're looking for. So definitely going to get into that as we move forward. Tennis. Tennis players are generally pleased with your experience. Tennis players are uninspired by non-playing conditions, the fences, landscape, upkeep, and the tennis professional shop. They like more themed events, triples and mixer events. Players will like new and upgraded furniture and better coordination between tennis and food and beverage options for events and post-tennis events. Social events, all of the members commented heavily on social events, and it was off the charts, really good. Some really interesting parts in here too. Appreciation for a variety of social events and options, catering to different age groups. Food and beverage and social events receive high marks all around. Frequency of events was a high priority in the survey, meaning that you'd like some more of them. Members mentioned better organization, logistics, and overall well-managed experiences. Requests for more family-friendly events in the future were mentioned frequently. Event pricing was a concern to some members. A lot of positive feedback regarding the number of social events and mix of entertainment options. Members would like some more weekend options for working members to participate in. Highly positive feedback on food and beverage service for the social events, and desire for more family-friendly activities. Sorry, as a repeat, and not copied over, or deleted. They're copied over, so I apologize. So we're going to handle some more of these when we get into the food and beverage and social events, when we get into those focused pieces. Golf operations, which is Mike's side. Golf professional staff received high marks with notes of helpfulness in the pro shop. Availability at tee times was noticed as a positive aspect, while some members felt overcrowding and Monday closures were problematic. Tournaments and member events were praised regarding the variety and competitive and social golf events. Driving range oversight is noted throughout. Restocking, enforcing the mat rule, dress code, target ranges, and new range furniture. Golf etiquette was mentioned as an area for improvement, as well as stricter guest access rules. I don't know what that means, honestly, so that's definitely one that we want to poke around with when we get together with all of you. Greens and grounds, no surprises here. Course conditions, specifically greens, were praised. Concerns over the conditions of the fairways and tee boxes were raised. Members would like more proactive course maintenance staff, and the golf course path maintenance and repair were mentioned as a growing concern. We'll continue to work through these. We do have some projects here coming up that I'm going to get into and share with all of you in a moment. Operational goals, which are not the capital ones, but the operational. On the financial side, it's very simple: to improve the club's cash flow position and strengthen the balance sheet. We need to do a better job of controlling our expenses and driving more profitability and more cash to strengthen the balance sheet for the future of the club. Membership, we will focus on improving course conditions specific to fairways and tees and continue positive programs for the health of the greens. We'll conduct department-specific surveys with the membership, looking for more detail from the general information that was shared. We'll continue to move in the positive direction that food and beverage is going in. We will review menu options and create additional opportunities for more pop-up restaurants and the use of the Century Room. Committees will continue with the success from the past year and expand the levels of discussion and shared information to go out to the membership from the committees. We'll continue to utilize written departmental goals and objectives as operational focus towards the future successes. Staff will continue expanding staff training in all the departments. It includes more formal education sessions and professionalism in the departments. Some staff accolades, just some call outs. Our head golf professional, Austin Lane, he received the PGA Class A certification this past year, which is a huge professional milestone for him. So he is now clearly qualified to go off and manage his own professional operation when he's comfortable doing that. Brayden Zanny moved from level 1 to level 2 for his PGA professional status. Ryan just received his level 1 PGA professional status. Our executive chef, Dean Lee, was inducted into Chaîne des Rôtisseurs, which is an international culinary group, and we will be hosting their dinners here for Brevard County and probably some southern Florida chapters as well as we move forward. Challenge Golf Course Superintendent James Francis and the Classic Golf Course Superintendent Josh Jount are now active in the GCSAA, which is the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America. It is a private educational arm similar to the PGA of America and the Club Managers Association of America. So we're going to get them involved in their local and regional meetings and some national and continuing education and certifications. Operational and maintenance capital improvements. This past year, Century Country Club engaged with the Compass Asset Management Group, which is a subgroup of club benchmarking, to review all of our fixed assets on our property. Their findings are fully documented and are now foundational in the operational and maintenance capital programming as we move forward. Compass Group spent 2 weeks with us. They looked at all of our pumps, all of the pump houses, all the air conditioning units, all the windows, all the doors, all the furniture, literally every asset, including carpet and grass and parking lots. So we have a full account that is probably more extensive than our fixed assets that we currently carry, that we have programmed out for the next 20 years. So part of our partnership with them is that our agreement with them was that we will take the information that they gave us and we'll act upon it. In return, they'll return every year and they will update all of our fixed assets, and they'll see where we're going, and they'll help us as we start moving forward in taking on repairs and maintenance capital projects. 2025 planned operational maintenance projects. There are 16 of them. 10 of the 16 came off of the fixed asset study. Those in red are the ones that we pulled forward from the fixed asset study. These projects are in no particular order, and they are based on cash flow for this year. So they all broken out by quarter. So each quarter we have a tranche of capital funds that are set aside, and each of these projects has its own specific order that we're pulling forward on that. We will repaint the Palm Restaurant Clubhouse trim. We'll enclose the Palm Restaurant hallway for additional storage and prep area that all of you have seen has been completed. We'll replace the Palm Restaurant veranda awning off the back. The canvas out back, we're looking at a couple different options. That project will take place most likely in July, August, while it's the hottest outside and most of you don't want to be sitting outside sweating. Replace HVAC units as needed. This is a going concern for our property. We have had deferred maintenance on these units, and some of them are barely limping through. So we do have some of these units already earmarked. We will complete the construction of the new ground storage building so that all of our new grounds equipment can be stored inside. To that, our grounds equipment, we have the majority of what we have ordered here on site already. We are still waiting for the fairway units and the 6 tractors and the blowers, the Sand Pros. Those are the pieces of equipment that we're waiting on. We are expecting delivery of all of those by the end of April, and then that will complete the transition from our older equipment to the newer John Deere equipment. Continuing on to planned O&M, purchase new driving range furniture and equipment. Believe we've placed the deposit. If not, we should. The board just approved this purchase along with the golf committee and finance committee. We will enclose the cart barn. That will be done later this year to stop all the blowover and blowouts from the irrigation system staining the new golf carts. We will seal coat the main parking lots. We will continue to replace all the tennis light poles out on all the tennis courts. We only replaced courts 3 and 4. This will replace the remaining number of poles that were originally installed back in 1995. And for the tennis players and pickleball players, you've seen the condition that they're in. We should be expecting these within the next couple weeks and get them installed for all of you. 2 hydrocourt resurfacings. These will be a constant replacement part. They fall under capital. We will take down 2 courts every August, July, August, and we will resurface and laser level both the courts inside the bank. New tennis furniture for all the courts. That includes all the pickleball courts. It'll all be matching furniture with the umbrellas. So the furniture that you can expect as tennis players is actually the same furniture that is out all on the pool deck. It's the tall tables, the tall chairs, and the umbrellas. We have enough for every tennis court and extra to be put around all of the pickleball courts. I would anticipate getting that late April, early May, and as soon as we get it, we'll put it all out. This page is all red. New tennis fencing for all the bays. So this includes all of the tennis posts and all of the fabric, all the chain link that goes around them as well. We will continue to update cart paths. Last year we did some transitional pieces. We will be rebuilding the phenomenal buildings that we have out there. Classic number 9 that all of you know about. And we will be rebuilding the pump house out on number 17 Classic. We will be rebuilding a 75 horsepower that's an irrigation pump out on the golf course. So a lot of these pieces have been identified. Again, for some of us coming in, it's just common sense, but we need to put it down. We need to commit to improving all of our facilities as we move forward. We've talked to Dave already. He's going to transition next year. He's going to be a pretty busy man as we continue to focus on operational and maintenance improvements. Aspirational capital is really, really, really simple this year, which for me is a little bit of a deep breath because we're just going to focus on operations and training while the department. But the strategic planning committee will review and meet with master planning companies from around the country, mostly on the East Coast, up into the Virginia area and down into South Florida, and hopefully make a selection of a strategic master planning company to partner with us. The planning phase for this is a minimum of 2 years. It's a minimum of 2 years. So we will not be building aspirational capital projects for 2 years. The strategic planning of this has to go into place first. We need to have an understanding what scope we want to look at for the challenge golf course, what we want to look at for this building, what we want to look at for the tennis building. From the scope, we get the rough order of magnitude, and that gives us a ballpark on price, and then we can start doing selections and raising funds and those types of things. But we will not be building anything major, at least for the next 2 to 3 years on campus, because we need a really good plan as we move forward. So we will be focusing solely on operational and maintenance capital and operational training and development by all the departments and all the staff. Questions and answers that came in. Financial questions. Do we have a target for a 2026 dues increase? No, we do not. But for those of you who were in the room last year, one of the pieces that we also shared is that it was a 2-year minimum wage increase. So we will be bound to meet that obligation this year. So that will be the base level set for a dues increase as we move forward. The operational committees, along with the board and the finance committee, will look at continued improvements on the golf course from the golf course maintenance side, head counts, fertilizer, chemical applications and rates, and what you'd like to do as far as improving those structures out on the golf courses. Second question was with cash flow as an issue for the club, are there any plans to build a $1.4 million tennis clubhouse? As I mentioned, there are no plans. So you can save that question for a little bit. As we get more information in about 2 years, we'll start sharing it with all of you. When we start getting into focus groups, we'll invite all of you into focus groups as well to talk about that. But to the cash flow part, last year you can appreciate, I think I was here for about 2 months before I had to put this together. So this year we did a little bit more due diligence in the numbers. So I'm sharing with you the 6-year statement of cash position. In 2020, which is on your far left, the club had $643,000 of cash. At its peak, which was in 2023, it was $1.846 million, getting ready for the classic renovation and the pickleball courts. Last year, on December 31st, we finished with $1.8 million of cash. Our target right now, the range, is up to $1.4 million is what we should see growing from a cash position this year. So that is our cash position. So that is where we are at, and that is what the target is as we move forward. Golf course questions. What are the dates for the golf course verifications? April 28 to May 18, classic course, and May 19 to June 9 is the challenge golf course. We will be doing drill and fill this year, which is a whole new project. It's not the dry jacking. We'll be doing that in the fall. What we drill and fill is, it's a 1-inch drill. It goes about 12 inches deep, and it drives a sand chamber all the way down. It'll allow us to get the salts and the waters out of all the greens, because the greens are still holding moisture. I know that they are much firmer than what you played in the past, but they are still heavily organic and they're still holding moisture. So this drill and fill process will help drive that out. In addition to the drill and fill, we will be going over the greens at the same time with a single pull aerification. So we'll pull the cores and we will top dress all the greens with the top dressing sand. August 11th to August 31st, and then September 2nd to September 22nd is the next aerification. We will be opening on Monday, Labor Day, for the Labor Day golf tournament, and then we go right into closing the challenge course. This project is the dry jacking, the Maximus that we did last year. This is Maximus. It'll go down 6 to 8 inches, drive more sand, not as deep as the drill and fill, and then we'll come over the top of that again with more aerification. What we anticipate at the end of these two aerification processes is that the greens should be in really good health from a soil composition standpoint. What we shared at the last Green Committee meeting is that if that is the case, we'll divert these funds over into applying sand and doing some special projects over on the fairways to get the fairways much, much better, because the fairways are nearly 100% organic. So we need to help change that composition as well. The fairways from a health and a turf condition were as bad as the challenge greens were last year when we notified you of what the health was. So we know that they are thin. There is help on the way. Nick is aware of it. Todd was here today with Nick, and we are putting together a program that we'll share with the Green Committee to start a heavier fertilizer application and a fungicide application. The fungicide takes the algae out of those. It's going to get better. As I mentioned, we're working on it. In the wintertime, obviously with the grass dormant, we can't grow grass. And our winterization of the golf courses that started back in October and November were no help. So we were set to fail no matter what we did last year going into the winter. So we did the best we could, and we held on to what we had. The same with the driving range. Driving range, we're going to be on mats for a lot more now, just because we need to get those grown in. We will pull you off mats for tournaments. As we move forward, we have a club championship coming up for these next couple weekends, so you'll be hitting off of grass. Well, we figured, well, the driving range were heavily sanded, we make the most of it to a party for 850 people out there. So just trying to do what we can with it. When do you anticipate opening one course on Mondays? We anticipate getting back into that practice in June. We believe that in June, we believe that the golf courses will be in much better shape, and we'll definitely start getting into your standard rotations of one course on, one course off on Mondays. In addition, and I'll wait for Nick, he's going to make a presentation to the Green Committee, and then we'll do an all-call for the membership so you can all meet him, and then he can share with all of you the aerification processes and the agronomic processes that he has planned. But by us being able to open on a Monday, and what we're thinking of is after 12 o'clock. Again, it's not going to be an early morning start, but in the afternoon. We'll still have to do some heavier work during midweek. And right now what we're looking at is Wednesdays and or Thursdays, and there's most likely going to be a gap in play so that we can go out and take care of a golf course. Nick and his colleagues down south, they started a program that was highly successful at Ibis, and a lot of the other clubs down south have taken that playbook from Nick and have applied it as well. So I'm not going to steal any more of Nick's thunder. I'll let him share with you what the plans are for the golf courses. But you should be seeing better playing conditions by October, at the very least, by the time we're done with all the applications. After the first one, you'll see an improvement just by allowing us more fertilizer, stronger fertilizer programs, and getting everything scheduled out. Fitness question, can the fitness room remain open for 2 hours longer? We can certainly take a look at it. We'll take a look at it. What that just does, we need to talk to Dave. One of our maintenance crew, or housekeeping crew on Mondays usually stays to lock up. The other 6 days of the week, someone from the management team locks this building up from the front door perspective. But we'll talk on Wednesday about this. These are some of the low-hanging fruit. At the conclusion of this, if you wouldn't mind joining the board up in my office, they'll have an organizational meeting immediately afterwards to select the officers of the club. For those of you in attendance, Katie will send out a notification to the members tomorrow, notifying you of the officers of the club. And then later in the month, we'll be announcing committee assignments and committee members and reaching out to all of you. April is a pretty light month when it comes to committee work. So I do appreciate all of you attending. If you do have any follow-up questions, drop me an email, give me a call. I'll be happy to meet with you, sit down, have coffee. We can chat, we can meet after lunch, after a round of golf, tennis. Be happy to meet with you individually or as a group. The results of the annual election are in alphabetical order. They are Mr. James Curling, Dr. Mark Hanley, and Mr. Richard Renfro. Congratulations, man. Thank you all for coming.